$20. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president.
The following program is rated TVMA.
We had an economy
Viewer
that was in
discretion
free fall.
is advised.
The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. That's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table, things weren't able to be met during the month. It was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure we deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos. Literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We made sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people. $15 for senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you. President Trump?
We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks that. And, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began. Since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant in the military. When he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were a safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that doesn't drive prices even higher?
Not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down, and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. He inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. and then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt. Well, so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, President, tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We did a lot of achievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done. We've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country. And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had large president in a 4-year period, number one. Example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America. They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, dealing with everything we have to do with.
Is there anything that Trump or Biden can say off topic that you?
We finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We no longer respect it. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. what we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
This is the first president since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, court on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex, but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, and getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was, it was an end result. It was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart, but you have to get elected also, and because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, "We'll put the baby aside, and we'll determine what we do with the baby," meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. This idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. That each state have a different. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered. And he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that. But here's the deal. There's a lot of young women who are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers, it's just ridiculous. And they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have, everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back. And many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. First time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making those decisions. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
He can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period.
I know, because
The Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
51 years, Constitutional Scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative rules on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? In fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board, at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch, overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers, significantly. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now we're in a situation where 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than he left office. I'm going to continue to the total ban on the relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol, more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere, all over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed 3, and his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in his administration, killed 3 American soldiers, killed 3 American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying the prisons, we're welcoming these people. That's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. At a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it with these 3 incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and he just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years ago. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved, choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT. 1 million of them now have insurance. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. His group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery, to go to. I was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because there's a bunch of losers and suckers. My son is not a loser, he's not a sucker. You're a sucker, you're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it. Period. That's number one. And number two, the idea have to apologize to you for anything along the way. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right, thank you so much.
Topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They think he's the worst commander in chief, if that's what you call him. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about anything. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned. And so he's got no love lost, but he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine, never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything, no money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
There's so much malarkey in my life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president, they attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish, Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I never said that.
For 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine?
No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled first before I take office.
Biden, you have a minute.
the fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
That's not true.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in goal to resolve this conflict. But so far, Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Security Council, straight through to the G7, to the Israelis, and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward. Which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas, number one. They're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened in Israel, we're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so they're 2 different things. Hamas cannot allow to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people on how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
People would get the illusion that we ain't involved.
Let's go back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together spent $100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any. They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting all. You got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one who wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian. But they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is the guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO. You're going to get out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but are we ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, we continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about. Go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland. He has no idea what he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do
That's
that,
even a game like that.
so they kill us on trade. I
Another way is
have great trade deals with the European nations, because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States, and they were no cars, no, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question. Would you guard us against Russia? At a very secret meethat of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time. But I said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions but now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath and your actions on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who is a documentary filmmaker, they say, but they won't know it's my responsibility. And she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor in writing turned it down. The mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because they're saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll not forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences. And so he went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court. And they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He didn't do a damn thing, and these people should be in jail. Should be the ones who are being held accountable. He left them out.
The roof.
He loses the game. Such a whiner that he is, that it could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Now we can't hear him.
What they've done
We
to
lost
some
it.
people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What
They're
you have
both
done, how
79
you
years old.
destroyed the lives of so many people when they
What is he saying?
ripped down Portland, when they ripped down
Watch, that's the best
many
part.
other cities. You go to
It's gonna be nobody's
Minnesota,
talking about
many,
tomorrow,
what
yeah.
they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that, they saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off.
Yo,
Peacefully patriotic.
right.
One other thing.
we good now.
The unselect committee,
What is it?
which is basically
The
two
green
horrible
screen?
Republicans that are all
Oh, yeah, it's
gone
cool.
now
Check
out
this
of
out, man. You in there?
office, and Democrats, all Democrats. They destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to
Thank
jail.
you,
Like
President
Coors
Trump.
Light.
President
A
Biden.
Coors,
I'll give you-
This is your offer?
The only person in
I'll
this
take
stage
one.
is a
Get
convicted
y'all-
felon.
get your
who's
Coors,
made
boys.
a
Blue
decision.
Mountain.
Yes, man.
Blue Mountains
The
on
fact
the
of the
back.
matter is,
God knows what he's doing.
what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, deserves to be
Hop in the
convicted.
hot seat there.
The idea that they didn't kill somebody just when
Hop in
they
the hot
broke
seat
down
real
the
quick while
doors,
he's gone.
broke the windows, occupied offices, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots? Come on.
Both
When I asked him the first two debates we had, the debates we had first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys?
He looked like he had.
Oh no, he should. He probably has. He shoots his pants a lot.
Attack that.
You can see it. You can watch it happen.
He got a diaper on. He's straight.
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34
Here we
felonies
go.
last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the select committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department
Look at
let
Joe, he's
the statute of
devastated.
limitations lapse on the most important thing. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done.
She pulled the
He's done
phone out
horrible
again.
things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that
We're
we're
back
going
to
to
the
want $1
board.
billion, or you change the
Trump
prosecutor.
is staying on the
Otherwise,
board.
you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with his son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Thank you, President Trump. President
Did you
Biden, you
bust
have
the
said,
phone?
coming right to you, sir.
I gotta hear this. Hold on.
Well, you want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea
Oh.
that I did
Oh,
anything
yeah.
relative to
Yeah.
what you're talking about is
Hold on.
outrageous.
What's his rebuttal?
It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public?
Yo.
No, he's got to hit back hard, bro.
While your wife was pregnant.
Oh.
What are you talking about?
Bringing up dirt.
You're
Look at
the
Trump.
world's
Trump's like,
only
well,
cat.
no, it's
Give you a minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star. Number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutors were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people.
That's all he's got to say.
Both the civil
Half the country just went
and the
like, God damn
criminal.
it.
He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam. And it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know.
Such a porn star.
And so the
Your
fact
parents don't love
can you
you.
ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution?
What if Trump just
Never
said,
heard
"Yeah,
a
but one thing I can
president
say
say
is I ain't broke,
I thought Hitler
bitch."
had some good ideas. What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died,
What
I
happened?
decided in Iraq because of Iraq. I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And and the young woman got killed. I spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The people the ones who got killed, the ones who tried to stop it, and the ones," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides." What American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas?
We got 7 people in this bitch. Y'all comment
This is the
some.
guy who says
Here we go.
done
Talk
some
to
good
us.
things. I like
What do you
know
want to
what
hear
they
us
are. The good things that were
comment
done,
on?
that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said
Both of you know.
100% exoneration.
That's
of that.
good,
So
though.
he
That's
just
good
keeps
shit.
going. He says he ran.
Yeah, he
because
knows what
of
he's doing.
Charlottesville.
That's
He
how
didn't
you.
run
That's how
because
you
of
get
Charlottesville.
people to think
He
that they're
ran because
stupid.
it was his
You
last
say,
chance.
you know.
And he's not equipped to
You
be
know that
president.
that-
You know
that's
it,
a
and
lie.
I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency,
Somebody said they don't want to hear Corey's
without
opinion.
question,
Oh no, dude, we should kick him out.
president,
It's
the worst
dangerous.
presidency in the
Hated
history of
horn
our country.
Mm.
The
We shouldn't
hated
be
horn
having a debate
transgender.
about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll
That
see it's
podcast, he
debunked
started
all
a
over the
podcast
place.
for the Hayden Horn
Every
translation.
anchor,
Nobody watched it.
every
We got
reasonable
60
anchor
motherfucker.
has
Hey, you
debunked
feel
it.
now?
You made
And
right.
just the other day, it came out.
I
It was
think
fully
he brings the
debunked.
Hayden Horn
It's
translation brings up
a
some good points.
nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of
Here's the link,
Charlottesville. He
Hayden
used that
Horn.
as an excuse to run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
President
come on, hey.
And debunk.
See what you got.
It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said
Oh,
at the
that's
time.
funny. That's
And
funny.
the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he
Oh,
didn't
he's going
deserve to be
straight after the
president.
Tiki Torch
Didn't
White.
deserve to be
Yeah.
president
Dave
at all.
Chappelle calls
And
him.
the idea that he's talking about
That ass and
all
golf,
this being
too.
fabricated, we saw with our own eyes.
You
We
wait till I
saw
bring
what
my partner
happened on
tomorrow
January
morning.
6th.
You'll see.
We saw the people breaking through the windows. We
You don't know
saw
what's
people
gonna hit you.
occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well.
Why would
They're
Pence
so-
endorse
I'm
him?
telling you,
Why
Casey,
they
I'm
not
better not
endorse
be
him?
Then they have beef at the end of
Thank you,
the
President Biden. We're going to be right
That's one
back
thing
with
I
more
side
from
eye
the
to that
CNN
last-
presidential debate.
I don't think
They
he's
don't
picking
know.
one yet.
I think he's going to announce it tonight. He brought me. That's tonight.
He's smarter than last time.
Kanye West.
I think he realized real quick that whoever told him to pick Pence fucked him because Pence was a horrible
Bro.
vice president.
No, Pence was cool.
No, he wasn't. No,
I
Pence
think
was
Pence,
wild.
I think
You're
it
the
was
only
more
person-
so Pence's the who they
Coming up, our series. Wait a minute. Tom, is that you working the camera?
Okay,
Leaning out of your close-up.
Your morning routine.
I think he refused to go like with Trump. With Trump was like, you gotta, you can't count these votes. You gotta deny the election. And then Pence came out and said, no, I can't do that. That's
Progressively fallen deeper into
everything up until then was cool.
whatever you do. Do it for less.
at Harbor Freight.
I hope so. I really hope that'd be funny.
You don't think so?
Yeah, I don't think they
Search
will. But
best
I hope
credit
they will.
cards, and you'll see cards
I
from
was wondering if they're gonna bring up
advertisers.
anything like related to
Search Wallet
transgender.
Hub best credit
I don't think
cards,
they're gonna
and
do
you'll really see the best credit
They
cards on the
can.
market.
I don't know.
I don't think
So
that
if you
would
want
make
to
sense
get
for them
best
to do
credit
it.
card
How much
deals,
other shit they
add
talk-
Wallet
See
Hub
the
to your
tone, man.
search.
They ain't going after
Reality
race
choosing
and
self-destruction.
sexual
Whatever I
orientation.
had
This
left
is all.
was
It's a
gone.
war.
The purpose of the industry is to
They
get
going all
you to
straight
play
war.
to extinction. And that means until all your money is
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did a little, They had that little back and forth. Back
Every
there.
time, every
money
time,
Trump-
Go
every
to
time
the
Joe
ends
tries
of
to
the
get some
earth.
speed,
Reach for the
that's for
stars.
Trump.
Yeah, I just took
Back
off.
at him. Ukraine.
Because there's always something new under the
It's
sun.
crazy. Like
On
both
CBS,
sides have like a little
Sunday
bit. They both have jabs. You know what I mean? Like they both got shit that they can say.
An original
And they got like
documentary from
strategically
CBS
placed.
Reports.
You know what I mean?
Desire Farm is a wonderful place to raise children, and it still is.
Yeah, you ain't gonna go great.
Black Americans have been the target of
My boy J Rock got the shroom.
pretty much for the time.
Yeah, give
We
me
take
$4
care of
for that.
it. Take me to the moon.
You take me
They did
higher.
everything to make sure we were run
I want
off
to
that
watch
land.
a debate on shrooms. I can't do that now.
To continue the fight,
Yeah.
Collective
Ooh, this really makes me feel it.
to keep their land,
You never done it?
their dreams alive.
Honestly,
So
that's
watching my
the amount I
children
take.
play
It
on
makes
land
me
that
feel
we
like that's
own means
Mm.
everything.
So
No,
there's power.
I ain't never done.
Most definitely.
I'm trying to go to heaven.
Peace and Renewal. Now streaming on the free CBS News app.
People with developmental disabilities were once sequestered by the hundreds.
Adequate manpower.
Oh, here we go. Oh shit. Trump made a lot of Biden made a lot of fun.
Boy, it's hard to get them lies out there. That motherfucker, that's where the patron stops.
I didn't know if it just glitched or he just. He just
I think he glitched.
Yeah,
You
I was
wanna- Oh man, this thing here keep playing.
What's that supposed to mean, big boy?
Look, Trump's gonna be like, I love black people. Black people. Yeah, this is gonna.
Yeah, we got a lot of hand action from Trump tonight.
Yeah.
Hey, this right here is where I'm about to get him. This is where he really gonna hit that
Shit, because everybody got 4 years of everything Joe said he was gonna do, he didn't do.
Oh, I'm voting for Joe Biden. That did it.
Turn it to an auction.
By the end of the day, it was like every black person gets a $200,000 house. Like, oh, what's that? I like how he leaned into that one too.
Yeah. He's big on murder on this.
Just say everybody. They kills black people.
Everybody. The cost of houses in it is crazy right now.
That's funny.
Right.
Dude.
Really? I keep all pissed about that. I was like, you see those town halls where they're going and they're like, we're not happy about this.
Slammed him.
Thousands
of millions.
Thousands of millions. That's a million 1,000 times, baby.
That's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of
That's a
jobs.
lot of fucking jobs.
Joe might be like Terrence Howard with these,
Yeah.
these mathematics. You know what I mean? That's a wild bar when you used the camp running on defund the police,
right?
And now you're bragging
That's what
about
I
putting
thought.
more police on the streets.
I'll tell you what.
That don't surprise me though.
I'll
I mean,
tell you
this
what.
is
That's
crime
not
by
the help
Joe.
of black voters. We need to put more police on the streets.
Right.
They don't want to hear. Black people don't want to hear that. Global warming.
Climate change.
Ooh. Trump does what he wants.
Yeah. That's awesome.
What's his middle name?
Jay.
John. Donald John.
What do y'all think his middle name is?
Jeremiah.
John, Donald J. Joseph.
Josiah.
Joseph Robin.
It's
Robin
a
Nett.
biblical name for sure.
Middle name is Robin Nett. Robin Nett.
Job.
That was John.
Trump. Yeah.
Donald John Trump,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, man.
What if it was just
No, if it was Jermaine, we talk about that every day.
just Javarius?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm part black.
John. It's John. Donald John Trump.
Is that a black ass middle name?
I knew it was something out the Bible.
Is it John?
Mm-hmm.
Mine is just his full name is
I don't
Joseph
like how,
Robin
here's how
Nett.
I say it. I don't like when they say are blacks. I don't like that. There's something about that. That sounds,
I think that's an age thing. That's an age thing.
Tinge of ownership in that shit. It's like,
man, you see those blacks over there? I don't like
Yeah.
that. It sounds. I don't like it.
it's like an easy Benz ownership. in
Yeah,
that shit. Like,
I feel like that's why nobody can really ever holistically like him. Because when you hear him, you're like, God damn, dog,
Yeah.
Trump. Don't say African Americans. I
It's
don't
like
like
the white
that.
dude you cool with. He's
Like-
saying shit like he act like he don't know that.
Right.
shit.
If I was just sitting here like, man, look at those African Americans over there. You think, okay, well, like, man, look at those blacks over there. Like, that has malice to it. That means something else. But yes, something behind that.
He said, "There's no inflation. He's killing blacks and the Mexicans." Like, no, easy, bro.
But I really like that. I really like when you don't bring up facts and statistics. You just say it didn't happen. He's like, no, it didn't happen.
That's Joe taking a trip out of Don's book, though. You know what I mean?
Right. Slammed him.
He's like gasping for it's sad, dude. I get sad watching him. Like, dude, we should not be on a national platform.
Thing, bro. I swear, it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
The wild thing is, you can tell he's really paying attention to the shit he's got to say that he's reading, and you can tell Donnie T's just like swinging from the hill.
I can tell that his memory and stuff isn't, but like that's why he keeps doing. That's why he keeps saying 1, 2, 3 because it's his way of like, you know, what he's doing that's because that's what he's written down. That's his way of keeping in track of things. Yeah, I can tell. Oh, he's cussing.
Yo. There it is, dude. Border.
So he must. So when he got briefed, somebody must have been like, "Gotta get that." He said that earlier too.
And honestly, man,
And that's it.
that's really ain't everybody care about this go around.
Yeah.
Show me the money.
How long are they gonna go?
I think this shit is about to end.
Oh, okay.
Joe was supposed to be in bed 3 hours ago.
I feel like it could have been a lot worse for Biden. He definitely
He did better than I thought he was gonna do.
yeah, for sure.
He did. Yeah.
So did Trump though, for real. I thought Trump was gonna be all unhinged, but
I knew Trump was gonna be good because, like I said, this type of shit is built for Trump. Yeah. People who like
but
Trump.
when he did it last time, like during COVID and shit, when they debated, it was terrible. Trump couldn't shut up, but now he's holding his own.
He's just he's just so entertaining. He has like an energy about him, like he's just entertaining. So you, even if you don't like him, you gotta listen to him because you're like, bro, what the fuck is he gonna say?
We'll never know. We'll never know. that could have easily voted.
He said, and by the way,
oh shit.
That they never do that. The very wealthy
He's the president, bro. He's the fucking president right now. Do it.
It sounds good.
That's what I mean.
No, he's just talking.
But the very wealthy know that they're not going to have to
Anything
pay
when he's talking about doing things for communities, when he's talking about shit like it, anything he's saying, vote for me and I'll do, bitch, you already in the seat. Look, Trump knows he better shit on him.
Is the debate muted? See where the volume's off.
Because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they in fact are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is we're in a situation where we talk about education for Black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face. About so many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing. And it's really coming back.
Damn.
I've never seen such anger in our country before.
They're putting migrants up in hotels.
If Trump thinks it's a luxury hotel, it must be fucking nice.
When I said
Yeah, right? You know what I mean?
So like,
Trump's calling it a luxury hotel. It's like, so people,
That gentleman got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it. Number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions of
people get mad as shit.
coming into the country and taking away our jobs.
They're really coming in.
I think somebody told me they get, a spot to stay, they give them a phone and money.
We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way,
honestly,
those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony. There's 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation is going to increase.
I ain't gonna lie.
By the
That's how I'm gonna end up at Austin right there. I figured it out.
Well, they got these squatters' rights and shit too. You can just go to someone's house. If nobody's living there, you can find a rental
President
property.
Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for two children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make childcare more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people.
He
never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it. But they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan
dude from
horror
Iran
show,
and shit. Like
the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people? Many from prisons,
but you know what I'm saying? Though, like, they come with these
mental institutions. Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He's the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We
I didn't
probably
look like
won't
he-
have a country left
Oh, as long
anymore.
as-
That's how bad it is. He's the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America.
You goddamn right.
There's nothing beyond our capacity.
Hell yeah.
We have the finest military in the history of the world.
Fucking yeah.
The finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody.
That's
Number one.
true.
Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact.
Yeah,
That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care, he did for virtually nothing.
They shit about
We should
that shit.
significantly increase the child care tax credit. We
You're
should
right. Yeah, I
significantly
gotta
increase
even
the
ask that.
availability
Yo, dude.
of women and men.
That's how they do, man.
Single parents to be
They
able to go back to work.
navigating the
And we
shit.
should
And if people
encourage
watch
them
this-
$50 a week to send a
to
motherfucker.
have
Thank you,
kid
President
2 years old
Biden.
today.
President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make childcare more affordable?
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he's increased the tariff, he will increase the taxes on middle-class people. I said I'd never raise the tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food, and all the things that were important. Number two, he's in a situation where
The food's
he
up on your
talks about
watch.
how
You know what I
he
mean?
has
Right.
not raised. He's somehow helped the middle class. Middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the largest deficit of any president in American history. Number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden.
You lost.
Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of
China in
Americans
the
that
end.
both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And
Child
for
care,
both
yeah,
of
we're not
you,
getting to that.
the number
I mean, they about
of
to start talking
overdose
about
deaths in
fentanyl
this
now.
country
That'll
has
let you know
gone
neither
up
one of them were
under
prepped
your
for
term.
child care.
No.
Under your term, it has gone up.
You're right.
And
Yeah.
former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made,
Joe
more than
Biden, child care,
100,000
yeah, they smell
Americans are
good.
dying from
Yeah.
overdoses every year,
Even more.
primarily from
Care about
fentanyl and
it.
other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history
Really?
of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with
Drug
China.
overdoses.
He gets paid by China. He's a
Yeah.
Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. We have, so I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries and there was more to come. But he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border were, it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low, because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways.
No.
But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen. And numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all people. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues said, "Don't do it. It's going to hurt."
So we just run over the dope with a truck.
It's not a good bill. It's a really good bill.
It costs a lot of money.
We need those machines. We need those machines, and we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors.
Wait a second, you're deterring.
Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology.
The drug epidemic is big machines that run over the drugs.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this
Just don't put your drugs in front of the truck.
He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage, we always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say there's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, the Wall Street Journal reporter, I think a good guy, and he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you.
Yeah.
President
No,
Biden,
it was
you would be
Biden.
76
Yeah, it was Biden.
at the end of your second
Because
term.
remember,
How do you address
one of
concerns
the
about your
one of the
capability to
balls
handle
got
the
locked up in
toughest job
China.
in the
Remember
world?
that shit?
well
And that was
into your
under
80s?
Trump. But he got him
First
out
of
like
all, I
that.
spent half my career being,
What he like
being
trying
criticized
to
being the
steal?
youngest person
some shit from the
in
China.
politics.
It was like I think it was like a Louis
I
belt
was
or
elected to the
something.
United States
It was
Senate,
something. I don't
and
know
now
what
I'm
this
the oldest.
dumbass did. He
This
was
guy's
tripping
3 years
over there
younger,
and
and a
trying
lot
to
less
steal some
competent.
shit.
Yeah.
I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've
DC
done.
Trump got him right out.
Back
Brittany
to
was
the
in there for a
situation he
minute.
left me.
Boy, that
I
was
said 50 million
good
new
for
jobs,
prison, though.
800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over
It's a
millions,
bad
billions of
deal,
dollars in
though.
private investment
You know.
in
That,
enterprises that we
Miles,
are
he wasn't
growing.
over
By the way, we
we
brought
went
off
to
a
the
lot
war
of
with
people.
China. You know
The
what I
whole
mean?
idea of
Leangelo,
computers,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is 40% of the market.
I was trying
We
to find
invented
out
those
too, bro.
chips.
You don't need money.
And we lost it
I don't
You don't need
because he
money.
was sending people
I
to
think he
ch-
just
to
thought he was
find the
just like
cheapest
in
jobs
China.
in
Shit
the
like
world.
that.
That's like
Find out.
motherfuckers with shoplifting.
So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest
Cameras looking at
billions
his
of
dumb
dollars
ass.
But
here
he's
in the
over
United
there
States.
in China.
And
He
they're,
probably saw some
guess
hot
what?
shit that ain't
Those
nobody got over
fabs
there.
that,
Yeah.
oh,
Didn't want to pay for his
to
days.
build
Like,
these
yeah,
chips,
I'm taking it home.
those fabs pay over
He's
$100,000.
like,
You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions,
Yeah, this
about
dumbass.
$40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies.
Oh.
And our
Everybody trusts us.
I
don't think that's
Kim Jong-un
Hell,
sends love letters.
I don't
to
trust
them.
you. Trust
They-
me.
They don't want to screw around.
The motherfuckers over here don't
Thank
trust.
you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests. They made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even
Nobody's ever
seniors,
taken a test.
2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a ball. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was.
Like, fuck the war, man.
25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm probably a little bit lighter.
You ever seen a clip of George Bush?
What he's like one-on-one with Ray right now.
Years ago, I feel very good. I feel the same.
Bishop
But
Valhalla.
I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they've never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 35 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's it. Anyway, just take a look at this.
Fat bitch.
Look, I'd be happy to have a debate contest with him. The reason I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And
They really talk about golf. They really out here talking about golf. This is fucking crazy.
This is funny as fuck.
You can do it.
That's the biggest rival. He's a 6 handicap of all.
Hell yeah, this is great. This is great.
You swing. I know you swing.
Okay, let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
turn
Let's not act like children.
You
to
are
a
a child.
specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted,
That's awesome.
that
That's
you
what we
will
want.
accept
That was
the
great.
results of this
He was-
election, regardless of who
You can't play
wins?
golf. Well, actually,
And
bitch.
you will say right
Almost
now that
600.
political violence in any form is unacceptable.
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. And I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all, and required response. The idea the idea. I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done, what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
He's staying
Just to finish what he said, if I might.
Yeah,
Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed the courts all across the country.
That's what happens when you get
Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue.
I still think
this lie.
this whole pod worked out a lot better than it could have.
Representation, all this stealing. There's no evidence of that at all.
When you go back, it's
And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're
sure there
such a
might be some
whiner.
good stuff in here.
The idea, if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate, live from Georgia.
I think it's over at 11.
Yeah, after 11. I'm calling quits after 11.
Well, so far, who y'all think winning?
Well, I'll tell you,
America's
we're
not winning. Yeah.
No. Yeah, we've lost this.
I mean, Trump, I'm just on a technical, just in terms of the debate, Trump's obviously winning because he ain't stuttering.
When you wake up in the morning,
like
we
Biden
want to
is.
be your
But we all
go-to
expected that.
Nate
So it's
has
like,
one of the quickest minds
you can't even judge
I've ever
Biden off
seen.
that because
Tony has a
that's
way of
part
making
the game.
people feel comfortable.
Gail has this unbelievable knack to ask the question that you're asking at home.
I've been told I could talk to a tree, and that's pretty much true.
I don't go to work in the morning. I go for coffee with my two good friends, and we talk about the world.
Your morning routine just got better. CBS Mornings, weekdays at 7.
Looks like we still hooked up.
It didn't seem like anything could happen because nothing ever happens in East Palestine. But it did.
Yeah.
Authorities released toxic fumes from 5 derailed train cars.
That's what I mean, man. Every question at the gate has been grand deflection. You know what I mean? I don't know if they've answered anything on the square.
Nah, hell no. But that's politics, though.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying.
Is bro. They all good at that shit, bro. Like
That's why really these two motherfuckers are the best ones to watch, though, because at least you know they're gonna say some shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Shane Gillis said a bit about that. Biden's like the perfect opponent for Trump because like when he's debating Hillary and shit, she's like really trying to get him, but Biden's something that he can't. Trump can't get in his head. He got no head to get into. You know?
Right? Yeah. That's
You
a
can't
fact.
figure this motherfucker out. He's
Damn. These motherfuckers are wild.
and that is a wonderful point. Like Hillary, especially she a woman. She's been, but she's gonna at least try to answer the motherfucking question.
Right, yeah.
She's gonna have a little bit of politics in it. She's gonna spin the shit she knows she need to spin. But like the question, what was the question about child care and shit? She would have really answered that fucking question.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
She would have really answered that fucking
She's a good politician. She knows
These
what
two
she's doing.
motherfuckers is up there trying to throw punches.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And that's the thing about her too, man, because she would have known where to hit them high buttons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And brought up. She would have brought up the fact that he ran past some shit.
Yeah.
Joe just trying to spend too much time keeping it together. You know what I mean?
He's trying to focus.
That's crazy. That's
But
crazy.
Joe, you can see it. He's sitting there reading words.
Right.
You can almost see him sailing it out and shit.
He's 81, 82
years old. That's crazy.
He is.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought he was 91. Shit. I thought this motherfucker was older than Mitch, bro.
I mean, we still got a
Oh,
little bit
Mitch,
of time.
that's another one. That's another one that can't keep it together.
Was that?
Mitch McConnell.
That's what he reminded me of, Mitch.
We still got a little bit of time, but I really thought we was going to see like some kind of episode from Joe, and then they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's why he can't run."
Yeah.
Right. And bring out like a big gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nah, that Trump said it. His last little speech he had before this shit, he said, "Man, they gonna pump Joe Biden full of drugs and send him out there." He said he gonna shoot some shit in his ass before they send him out there. And I really
might
feel
not be
like
wrong.
I really feel like Joe Biden probably took his medication before he went out there.
Joe Biden did a line of coke,
Something.
2 lines of coke. They got out there.
Oh,
Here we go. It's wrapping up.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We found ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic, and he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did. When, for example,
you can't really
wants to
put the
get away with-
pandemic
you get rid of
on him
the
either. What,
ability of
the
Medicare.
election was in 2020.
For-
You can't. Pandemic.
Right after he got elected.
Yeah, pandemic hit every country though. We can't blame it. It's not an
Guess
American
what?
thing.
Yeah.
We got it down to
Everybody.
Right.
$35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion.
He's just doing good words
because
there,
the government
boy.
doesn't have to pay the exorbitant.
Yeah, I'm
tax.
impressed. This is
I'm
cool.
going to make that available to every senior, all along.
Does he have a teleprompter?
And everybody in America. He wants to get
Yeah,
more.
that's why I say
They're
you see
gonna
what
make sure
I don't think he
that
does it. I mean, is that
Ain't no
fair?
way.
No, there's no way. They're not gonna let him do
credits
that.
people
No.
have for childcare. I'm going to make sure we
He's
do
talking
something
good.
about
He's spitting
what we're
game.
doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to
Lead
bring down
pipes.
inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do, all he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible.
Somebody said Joe definitely has a few addies.
The largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things.
How long do you think Trump?
Nobody's ever,
How long do you think Trump
never seen anything
on
like
average?
that. Even from the medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space age materials instead of going to Asia.
He looks at
or
he's just a
going to
businessman. He
Europe
looks at
trying to
everything
get
like
when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. You try to get it. 42 years.
That was good. Somebody
You know
say
what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers. For our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, they can go out and get themselves fixed up, ready up, and take care of themselves. And they're living, and that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the GA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump.
I think that's his daughter. That's his daughter.
Okay. Stay with us because we have full
But he did
analysis
say
of
his
this
daughter was
debate.
hot, so
Anderson
you know,
Cooper
that's
and Aaron
weird.
Burnett
That
starts
was weird.
now on CNN.
But I can see him being more like a coffee and a New York Times in the morning, just get a blowjob and go.
And so the first presidential debate
Always
of the
being all
2024 election season is in the books. As you witnessed President Biden opening this debate and continuing the very shaky voice, a raspy voice that we have learned from advisors close to him. Apparently he's had a cold for the past several days. But he also had a number of wandering answers during this debate. He had a number of facts and accomplishments that he wanted to tout, but I think his voice and sometimes was distracting from that. President Trump offered repeated lies and exaggerations, but then President Biden failed to fact check Trump most of the time. We've got our entire panel here tonight to discuss what we witnessed. John Dickerson, I'll start with you.
For the majority of Americans who don't want this choice, the debate met those expectations. I think you characterized it correctly. What we heard about President Biden is people who know him said, when he was underestimated in the 2020 campaign, people said to his convention speech and he exceeded expectations. They said, look to his State of the Union addresses when he exceeded expectations. On the debate stage, he came in well under expectations, both as a matter of performance and as argument.
There was something with him and Stephen A. First of all, right now, the border's a joke. The border's a joke right now.
You mean it is Stephen A's good for you mean to tell me that in 2024,
LeBron
immigrants are still coming over his border?
You gonna vote for Joe Biden?
All right, well, we got 5 people in here, 4 people in here, man.
Hell yeah.
We rock and rolling, man. That was a good debate for real. That was better than I expected. I thought it was gonna be a shit show. I thought nobody was gonna be able to get a word out, but I feel like I learned a little bit.
What'd you learn?
Just about their positions and about the state of the country right now, where they stand going into the election.
I mean, I don't feel like nothing new was founded upon.
No, not at all. But it cleared it up.
I want to really go back and watch it because I know there's bars all through.
Yeah, it's bars.
Right. Yeah, we probably missed some good moments.
I think that's what we're gonna do the review show probably Sunday.
All right.
After we got some time with it. Anybody got a favorite moment that they can think of?
I liked in the beginning when he goes, everything, Trump he does his whole speech and he goes, everything was great. And then he finished and Biden just immediately, everything was terrible.
I mean, I think that's when he looked at him, right? He looked at him and was like, everything was terrible.
I think my 2 favorite was obviously when he dropped Hunter Biden being on dope. That shit was funny
for sure.
I think that was probably my favorite too.
And I knew he was gonna come with it. I was just waiting on it. You know what I mean? And then the first time they got in on the motherfucking economy, and Trump is handling his ass.
Yeah.
And then they cut to Joe, and he goes, "There's no inflation." Word.
For fucking Trump to come out and say this guy's too light. He's fucking 135 pounds. And he can't drive a ball 50 yards.
No, yeah, that's the run, man. The
That's
golf
insane.
run.
That was great.
Insane.
Because I thought Joe Biden was just gonna be like, I'm not even gonna deal. Like I'm not even gonna engage in that. But he was like, no, actually,
I was 6 handicap.
I was 6 handicap. Like get the fuck,
Bro, bro, you got to be nobody want to be a grown up.
See, that's the thing. If I was Biden on that after he said that, I think it'd have been you take the high road.
Exactly.
You say some shit like, I think the American people don't want to hear about our golf games. I think they want to hear about the economy or some shit like that. And then
But honestly, the troubling thing is if you look at the whole debate, everything back and forth was just a or even if they did get a topic, it was right back to the bullshit. You know,
well, it's like when he brought up the fentanyl and shit. Trump, he said like, what are you going to do to fix this problem? But instead of like talking about what he's going to do, he just turns it around to everything he's done wrong.
Right.
Every issue they just turn into.
It's gone. Maybe that'll do it. But. Who?
My buddy Hayden Horn, the Hayden Horn transmission.
Hayden Horn, man, the algorithm was fucking with us on this mic. They didn't want too much real live action.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. They didn't want to try to censor us, dude. Try to cancel us.
No, it does throttle it down because so many people, every motherfucker that I follow that talks anything social, political, everybody did a motherfucking show tonight.
Right.
The streaming service box. Like I said, we tried to do a Super Bowl show. It was like, nah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even fire up.
I'm glad we did this. This was fun. It was fun. You guys have a good time? We had fun doing this. I mean, it was a productive evening in terms of comedy, I thought.
I'm glad I got a good piece of American history tonight.
Right.
I love seeing Joe Biden's face looking like how the fuck I be looking when my girl pull that phone out and say, who the fuck is this bitch? It's right there, like, just looking like, I don't know.
That might have been low key one of my favorite parts too, because every time at the beginning, especially,
the faces was crazy. Yeah.
Every time Trump would hit a point, Joe just looked devastated, boy.
Well, throughout every time Trump would go talking, Biden, you could visibly see him close his eyes, fall asleep and shit, like wander, like look around and shit. But as soon as they say Biden, what do you think? He's back on. He's back on his shit, dude.
He might be a lizard.
It's kind of weird.
Like he might be one of those robot
people.
lizard people.
Yeah. I swear to God, I was just waiting to see some kind of ad for Chat GBT or motherfucking the chip, the brain chip. I really thought I thought they were gonna come out and this motherfucker was gonna start speaking 3 different languages and shit. I was waiting on it because they rolling it out. I really think that's the only reason we got that Drake track, was just to kind of get people ready for AI.
I just wish that they would ask better questions, like questions that, like stuff like they were like, "Hey, Biden and Trump, who's the thickest girl you ever fucked?"
Well, they say what's it called? Like most people decide like based on who they'd rather have a beer with. You hear that?
Oh,
like, it's a big theory that like voters usually decide based on which candidate they'd rather just sit down and hang out with. Have a beer with.
Okay. Yeah.
So I started asking shit like that.
Be with. I was a little like, what you mean?
Oh, be with. Yeah.
Pause. I know what you're talking about.
Like hang out with?
Yeah.
Oh, I would
definitely
Trump. I'd hang out with Trump.
I don't think anybody else would have a different answer, bro. Like for real. Like
if we're just talking about hanging out with, I would hang out with
What the fuck wrong with you?
Yeah.
What the fuck you want? You might as well go down to the nursing home.
I don't know. Biden is pretty funny though.
He's hilarious.
The only good thing about Biden is though, man, that motherfucker gonna take a nap and then you can just wander the White House. You know what I mean? You can be in there doing whatever.
You might find some cocaine in that motherfucker somewhere.
That's like by the time Joe wake up from the nap, I was about to say, by the time Joe wake up from the nap, you and Hunter at the strip club in Washington and shit, you ain't even there no more.
Yeah, we going to Southeast DC, Hunter. That's where the fuck we going there. We going to cross that bridge.
Yeah.
That's the fuck is you talking about?
Aaron, you got a political preference? You vote for anybody?
You got to take man.
I'm bringing myself in, but I do want to say my favorite moment from the debate was when Joe Biden was like, "We're going to World War III, motherfuckers. We don't care."
This guy wants to get drafted, dude. How's that your favorite moment,
Dude,
Oh, he's ready, dude.
That to me is
Not me. I'm too old, bro.
That to me is the display of it's two wings of the same bird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because bro, when you got the Democratic president standing on war, that's hilarious. Because when you look at all the constituents, they're all that's not their vibe, man. You know what I mean?
In Minnesota, a bunch of like young Democrats, but during the primaries and shit, they came out and just fucking like they voted like for nobody and filled out like an absentee shit. Just to make a point to say we don't want Biden. Like a bunch of like, young liberals and shit after the whole Palestine shit.
Like I said, man, before a lot of elections, you know, they hype it up and they'll even talk about about the standing president if people, you know, if he's the favorite and you know what I mean, this and that, and the opponent or what have you, you know, because there was a lot of rah-rah around Biden, you know what I mean, last go around. Dude, the debate shit was wild. It was everything was clips of people like, I don't want to vote for either one. I was like, that's bad. You going into a president's debate and the whole messaging from the media is like, we hate both of them.
I feel like we hear that every year.
Yeah.
We hear that every year.
One thing that I'm very surprised that came out recently, and it's close to the end of Joe Biden's run, is the draft shit. Like, why the fuck would you put that out right now?
What is it?
Or again, 18 through 25 is automatic draft.
Women too,
Why
right?
are you bringing the draft
It's
back?
for women too, right? It's not just dudes.
I'm not sure, but with women,
I think they were
equality
arguing. They were
and
arguing
shit.
about
There's
that.
equality and shit.
You see Corey though, he fits that age demographic. He's like, well, look at
Oh,
me pictures though,
Are
right?
you I'm in my 30s now, man. Damn. How old are you, Aaron?
I'm 27.
You're fucked.
You
are
fucked. I go to Palestine to get some pussy. I got it.
Yeah, you come back with a Palestinian baby.
That's what I was talking about earlier, though. That facade that we ain't already at war. Now, why would you invoke a draft if it's Russia, Ukraine, and Israel versus Palestine? Right? Why would we need a draft? Sound like they need to be drafted.
I think they're expecting somebody to hit us.
Hey, it's the same thing as like dude. But hey, Corey, if you go to Palestine, you better bring your fucking sunscreen, buddy.
Sunscreen, dude. Yeah, it's hot out there.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you the first one to get shot. Now they go see
Right,
you.
my big ass Junos and shit.
You're gonna give up your whole squatch cover. They like, what the fuck is that out there?
You guys want 45 rubles for a BlackBerry? What the hell?
Hey, that'd be me if I'm sitting down. I look at you like, nah, you can put me in another camp.
Bro, I wonder what that process is going to be like.
With the draft?
Yes.
We already have.
We had it, right?
We have selective service. Like we all have to.
But have we seen one in our time?
No,
we haven't seen one in our time.
That's
You know what I'm saying? Like every draft, it's like some crazy ass shit that go on, like big riots and shit.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Like nobody want to fucking get drafted. Like,
are you supposed to sign up or do they automatically sign up?
Automatically. Yo,
I think you
draft.
When you turn 18,
turn 18.
Like Cassius Clay and shit.
Yeah.
That's when he had to. Muhammad Ali
turn
just
18.
explained to Muhammad Ali. That's when they put him in the draft.
It's kind of like almost like going to jury duty. Like if some shit is gonna show up at your house, you're like, oh,
You do that shit?
I got jury duty before,
but like it's all of our right. Like if they send it to you, you would have to go.
Well, here's the thing, though. Kentucky,
that's
jury
like
duty,
that.
I've heard in Kentucky is actually very laxed compared to other
I
states.
didn't
a lot of people
respond
just
to
don't
it.
go. Yeah,
I didn't respond to
I
it.
had jury duty. I didn't go.
Yeah. Well, that's the funny thing. I might have had it, but never even.
But I figured since I was a convicted felon that I'm like, bro, I can't do no. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I didn't even respond to it. Nothing happened.
I mean, I would be the worst juror ever. So I'm
going.
I would do whatever I could to get out of it, like off the rip. Like, what's the case? And I would just say some heinous shit, like, all right, so I'll see y'all later. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, he's guilty.
I'm just asking. I'm gonna say we got Brown or
I know, dude. That's my cousin.
I'm gonna say you got who's better, LeBron or Michael Jordan in the depending on that, that's what I'm going to decide.
Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Or though, it would be. I think though it could be cool though if you was on like some mega crazy case. Now you're gonna be tied up in this shit forever.
If I could be on
But
a
if
thug
you-
case, that would be amazing.
That's what I mean.
That
You
would
know
be
what I mean?
amazing.
Oh, if I was on
say-
Young Thug case,
like say
he's
you the
free.
juror on when Trump gets 34 felonies.
Oh,
You know what I
that
mean?
would have been even better.
So like I said, if you could be part of some shit like that, but if you just part of some old goofy shit, like nah, man.
Yeah. Like if I was part of Young Thug's trial, that would be
like
he's
you
gonna
name
be, I'm
come
free.
true,
I'm free.
right?
I would love watching YSL Woody every fucking day.
Could you imagine being a juror on like the OJ trial?
I'm gonna say you guys.
Well, they got like torture. That trial was like 7 months. You ever see the documentary?
Well, that's what I mean. It sucks because sometimes you be tied up forever.
Well,
with it.
they took the TVs out there, but they couldn't like watch the news or nothing because they couldn't get like any facts about the case outside of the jury. And it was like the motherfuckers went crazy and shit.
I would just burn a jersey out front.
That's
like,
another-
And they're like, nah, you gotta go.
That's another reason he got off is because the jury was just so tired of being there they just want to get out.
I think
That's probably part of the strategy.
Got kicked off of that case for sure. Right. I think what is like a juror too got kicked off the third case. If I'm not mistaken. As far as modern day cases, I know like at least a juror got kicked off of that case.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I'm sure it happens all the time. They find out he knows like the cousin or something.
They gave out.
I can't remember what it was, bro. But I would have been I would have hit the shade room for
You about ready, Will? I'm hungry as fuck.
Yeah, man. Let's close it down.
Let's get out of here, man.
Any closing remarks?
No, man, I got a good time. There's we should do this more like for more shit, more live events.
Yeah,
Come up here and streaming.
Yeah.
Last presidential debate was lit, but I think
If you could see any two presidential candidates debate, who would it be? At any time.
Out of all the presidents?
That's a good fucking question.
That is a great question.
Trump is definitely
He's gotta be in there.
Definitely in there.
Yeah.
Trump.
It have to be like Trump and Lincoln or George Washington or like some old dude.
I want to see
Trump and Obama would be probably mad,
or like
bro.
Or like
That'd be
Trump and Obama's a good one. That's a good one. Maybe Trump and Bill. I
is
think
a
Trump.
shoo-in. He's like
I
a
think Trump and
shoo-in,
Bill
bro.
Clinton would be funny too because he's got so much shit on him. He's got the blowjob and all the fucking shit. You know.
he's
Time.
Yeah.
Nobody that abused women more than Bill Clinton.
Yeah, Trump was
And then
not
the
about
second debate they had, he brought like 5 people that claimed Bill Clinton raped him.